Vitamins Slumpbusters, it is time for the biggest game of the year, Super Bowl 56 out of SoFi Stadium, with the Cincinnati Bengals going into Los Angeles to take on the home team Rams for the chance to win their first Lombardi in franchise history. The Rams, of course, were in the Super Bowl just a couple seasons ago, so Sean McVay bringing this team back to the promised land. So two fantastic experts I am happy to bring on. Blake Jude, we've had him on the podcast before, so coming out of the orange corner here to represent Stripe Hype. Stripe Hype Cincy on Instagram, also writes for Phil to Court. Definitely one of the most well-recommended pages if you are a Cincinnati Bengals fan or part of Who Day Nation. Blake Jude, how are you doing today?
Doing fantastic. Still trying to grasp on being in this scene right now, but I'm doing great. It's great to be here.
And in the blue corner, representing the Rams house, Jonathan Mathis, this sports judge, part of the ASAP network, also does a little bit of writing for his own personal blog, the SoCal Chronicle. Definitely a great time to be writing for a Southern California-based sports team. Jonathan Mathis, the sports judge, how are you doing today?
Hey fellas, how you guys doing? It's wonderful to be here. I'm excited about the Super Bowl this Sunday. I can't wait to have a great conversation with you fellas about it.
Well, let's get right into it. I'm going to start off with the unlikeliest team to get to the Super Bowl, the Cincinnati Bengals. Blake Jude, you are up. You get to talk about your team first here. Let's talk about that quarterback, that guy that rocks number 9, Joe Burrow. In the last 3 seasons, Joe Burrow has won a Heisman. Joe Burrow has led the greatest offense in college football history. He's tore his ACL, and now he's in a Super Bowl. What would a win Super Bowl Sunday do for Joe Burrow's legacy? And comparing him to his peers, those other 20-something quarterbacks, you know, Ric Flair once said, to be the man, you got to beat the man. Well, if Joe Burrow's beaten all the men, is he not the man if he gets this win?
He's getting up there. I mean, this is going to be one of the, I think, most impressive 3 stretches of a football career a player's ever had between college and NFL. We never see a quarterback this early on go to a Super Bowl. It's just unhuman-like. And he just came off of one of, if not the best college football season of all time a couple of years back. This is a guy that just figures out ways to win, and you really just don't know. You can't really pinpoint how or why. He just makes plays whenever plays need to happen. I mean, he's been fantastic throughout this entire process. Cincinnati's gone out and I've tried to build around him. It's guys like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins who would go out there and catch balls at a very high level. And it feels like every single time Joe Burrow needs a big play, he goes out there and makes it. I mean, literally every single time. It's crazy. Just came off of a 21-7 deficit to the Chiefs a couple weeks back, came back and won. You need points, Joe Burrow's going to give you more points. He's just like that sometimes. And we like to call it the Tom Brady syndrome, I guess. He just goes out there and figures out ways to win.
Yeah, and Jonathan, swinging it over to you for the champion hero of the Los Angeles Rams. It's not exactly a quarterback or a wide receiver combination coming out of the draft. It feels like it's Sean McVay, because the Rams 3 years ago went to the Super Bowl with a team that was 75% of Jeff Fisher's players and Todd Gurley and Jared Goff and Brandon Cooks, and they overhauled the entire roster. And this year they had 3 original players from the Jeff Fisher team of 2016 on this team. So they've rebuilt an entire team from scratch, and now they're in the Super Bowl. So I just want to let you talk about the work that McVay and Les Snead have done to, you know, defy odds and make a Super Bowl twice in 4 years with 2 completely different teams, other than, of course, Aaron Donald.
Yeah, it didn't take them very long to get back to the Super Bowl, and a lot of it has to do with the way the roster is constructed, as we all know. You know, yeah, Sean McVay is a genius. Does he get carried away with the offense at times? Absolutely. Sean McVay, the brilliant mind that he is, he has done a fabulous job in the way he has coached this team, the way he has managed this team, and it's been a few great seasons so far under Sean McVay. Is he one of the bright spots? Surely he is. You know, you got to give him a lot of credit. And then you look at Les Snead making some risky moves to get to this point. And it just shows you how brilliant of a mind he is as a general manager. He brought in Von Miller. You know, Von Miller helps with the defense. Von Miller is a pass rusher like Aaron Donald. This takes some of the pressure off of Aaron Donald. He, you know, rolled his dice by bringing in Odell Beckham Jr., who has been sensational since becoming a Ram. He's turned it up a notch. He's really kicked his game up a notch, and it's great to see. You're seeing a more rejuvenated wide receiver, someone who's more committed to winning. at this point in his career. So it's amazing how they put this roster together, how they built it to make it work. And it seems to be working fabulously well. The big move this offseason was the blockbuster trade in acquiring Matthew Stafford. Now we see how Matthew Stafford has performed. Matthew Stafford is the feel-good story of the Rams this year. He is that guy, you know, and it's been a fantastic journey for him to get to where he is now. But none of that happens without Les Snead taking a gamble on a guy who has always had a bad rap, and that followed him over to Los Angeles. But he has proved his naysayers wrong. He has, you know, silenced his doubters. And now there's a lot of people who actually believe in Matthew Stafford because this is a guy who is oozing with a lot of confidence and he's taking his game to the next level. But back to your question again, we got to give a lot of credit to the front office and the coaching staff because they've done a brilliant job making it all happen.
You talk about the gamble that Les Snead took. The Rams definitely bet big on this season. It's all about this season. We get Von Miller, we get OBJ, we get Matthew Stafford. But if they don't get this win, is this season still a success?
You know, that's a tough question to answer, but I'm going to answer it in the best way that I think I can. When you make a number of moves like they did, significant moves that they made to get to this point, and you don't win it, that would be a major disappointment to the Los Angeles Rams because they didn't make all these moves. They didn't acquire these players to lose. They simply did this to win now. When you sacrifice your draft capital and when you give up, you know, your future picks for moves like this one, it's win now mode. And the Rams made it real clear that they wanted to win now this season. That's why they made all these moves. These moves were done to win right now. So if they don't win now, yes, that is considered a failure. So this is their year to win it now. It would be very heartbreaking if they don't. And if they don't win it, then what did you make all those moves for? Basically nothing. Yes, it's gotten you to the Super Bowl, but you don't just want to get to the Super Bowl. You want to finish the job. And now the Rams have a chance to do that on Sunday with these moves that they made. But so far, their all-in bet has paid off. Let's see if it really pays off on Sunday.
Blake, bringing it back over to your boys in the orange. Clearly, I had to rep Cincinnati because I said as of December that they were not a playoff team this year. So I have to come around at some point. You are a guy who could have named the entire Bengals roster the year they had the number one pick in the draft. Like, you are really big into this team. So I'll ask you about the guys deeper down the line, whether it be getting Trey Hendrickson or DJ Reader and all of the corners they added on the defense, which is basically like a shadow version of the 2019 Saints coming over to play for the Bengals. I want to ask you about that and the job that Duke Tobin, which is a great name to say, the job that they've done to assemble a team around the franchise quarterback and star wide receiver and amazing running back. I want to give you a chance to talk about all of the other guys that people may not know their names for on the Bengals.
What a turnaround this Bengals front office had this offseason. I don't think really anyone really expected it. I think we went into this offseason expecting big money being paid along the offensive line. A lot of us really thought that, this is after what Joe Burrow's injury happened, this needs to be a team that focuses primarily on fixing offensive line. You are about defense later. But Duke Tobin went out there, and Lou Ederman, the defensive coordinator as well, said that they are looking for edge rushers and corners. Those are the two big positions they were looking at, and they really went out there and got it. They got Trey Hendrickson, of course, the big signing, I think, in the offseason. They let former Bengals edge rusher Carl Lawson go in free agency, and I got a lot of angry Bengals fans over that. I was one of those very angry Bengals fans as well, because this is a guy that was near the top of the league in pressures, of course, not playing this past season after he got injured, but they lose Carl Lawson. They use all that money that they saved from not re-signing him and go out and get Trey Hendrickson, who I think a lot of people didn't really expect to have the season he did again last year, but he turned around and did. He leads the team in sacks. I believe he's one of the top 5 in the AFC in sacks as well. He gets a lot of pressures. He's able to finish. very, very well against the quarterback. And that's something that Carl Lawson did not do very well. He got a lot of pressures, but was not able to get, he missed a lot of tackles, had a lot of problems. Quarterbacks could escape against him. Trey Hendrickson makes sure they go down. And on top of that, they also go out and get guys like BJ Hill, trade center Billy Price to the Giants, or BJ Hill has been a very, very key asset to this team as well at 3 tech. Came in last game, had a big pick interception against Patrick Mahomes, and ended up really helping turn the tide for the team. Also got out there and had a second and a half in the game. He was a very, very big key piece as well. We really thought him as a role player for the majority of this season, being more of a rotational defensive lineman, but now he's coming in and playing starter minutes with Larry Ogunjobi out. He's been a very, very key piece, very big key piece to this team as well. And I really think as well, you look at the secondary, as you mentioned, Chidobe Awuzie has been the Bengals' best cornerback and one of the better cornerbacks in the AFC this year. He has done a very, very good job on the outside, making sure he holds normally the top receiver, to below average yards. Had a little bit of a problem at the beginning of the game against the Chiefs. Got beat by Tyreek Hill a couple of times, but entering the second half, Mahomes didn't even have over 100 yards passing in the second half and overtime combined, which is unreal to imagine. Chidobe Awuzie was a big part of that. He locked down Tyreek Hill whenever needed and was able to make sure that he was able to get deep or get knee passes, over the middle, and also really helped the Bengals, of course, were able to get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. But as well, also Eli Apple got, for some reason, the last 3 games had big plays each time. He was a big part of that interception against the Raiders, guarding Darren Waller one-on-one. He was also a big part of the interception against the Titans, and the huge tackle at the end of the first half against Tyreek Hill, of course, to save potential 7 points in the game. He's made huge plays to us this entire time, and a guy that I think a lot of people had already given up on and forgotten about, Eli Apple, is now going to be the starting corner on the other side for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's been a huge key asset to this team, and Mike Hilton as well. I can't say enough good things about Mike Hilton. He has been one of the best slot corners in the NFL this year. It's a very, very misfit group. A lot of people, you really don't expect them to do as well as they've done this year, but similar to how some of this Chiefs defense has in the past, they make big plays whenever big plays need to be made, and that's helped them win a couple of games.
You talk about the big play, the big tackle by Eli Apple, but a lot of the time in that first half against the Chiefs, he might as well be called Eli Apple Pie because he was getting cooked by Patrick Mahomes and company. How is it that this inconsistent Cincinnati secondary, yes, they did improve throughout the year, but mostly inconsistent, is going to be able to contain this high-powered, high-volume passing attack of the Los Angeles Rams? What's your confidence meter in this defensive backfield?
In terms of corners one-on-one, I mean, I cannot lie when I say the Rams have one of, if not the most talented wide receiver core in the NFL, without question. Cooper Kupp has been fantastic, easily in the top of the league right now in wide receivers. He just won a triple crown in receiving yards. Odell Beckham Jr. is a guy that finally had a much-needed career revitalization by going to the Rams as well. And I really like Van Jefferson, the younger guy from Florida, who's been really, really good lately as well. I think they have a very, very talented receiving core. And to be honest with you, Eli Apple going one-on-one with any of these guys is not something I would wish. I would not count on that, because at the end of the day, he has had problems in the past of getting cooked, of course. But at the same time, Cincinnati is a very, very good safety group of Von Bell and Jesse Bates, who I know are very, very good at being very rangy, being able to get across the field. And if someone's able to get beat, like how Tyreek Hill beat his man one-on-one and overtime, Jesse Bates was able to come across the field entirely, knock the ball out of Tyreek Hill's hands, help Von Bell get the interception, and ultimately win the Bengals the game later on. I do hope that maybe if Cincinnati can make sure that they can lock down the short to intermediate parts of the field, we can rely on Jesse Bates and Von Bell to deny any sort of deep passes down the field that Matthew Stafford likes to throw whenever he has a very, very clean pocket.
Jonathan, I want to flip it on you and talk about the Rams defense here, as we've talked about the Bengals defense for a little bit here. The Rams have had a depleted secondary for much of the season, but they also have the best corner I've ever seen in my entire lifetime in Jalen Ramsey anchoring one side of the field. So in a game where we know that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to have 3 receivers strong, and Joe Mixon hopefully having a revival game for the Bengals' sake, and Joe Burrow. Is it a more effective strategy to have Jalen Ramsey go one-on-one on Jamar Chase, or have him kind of anchor one side of the field and say, right side of the field is gone or left side of the field is gone for the entire game, because we're going to have Jalen Ramsey zoning whoever tries to run in that area?
I think because he's such a versatile cornerback that you have him move around the field. You have him play one side of the field. You have him cover Jamar Chase. It depends on how the game goes. If Jamar Chase is having one of those days where he is this absolute stud who just looks unstoppable, this force to be reckoned with, you have to have Jalen Ramsey. You have to ask a lot of Jalen Ramsey to be able to cover a guy that good. But I think, to answer your question, I think Jalen Ramsey is going to take away parts of the field because that's what he does so well. And, that's one guy you want to be careful when you throw in his direction because he can pick you off. He can read plays exceptionally well. That's another thing he does. The problem that I have with Jalen Ramsey is that sometimes it's as if he's in la la land out there, that he looks a bit lost and confused. And because of that, he allows the receiver to blow him out of the water. Basically, he gets smoked sometimes on plays. And when you have to take on a tough assignment in covering a guy like Jamar Chase, you can't let up. You can't fall asleep on defense. You have to be alert at all times and you have to be ready to cover that guy because he can smoke you. And that's the kind of player that Jamar Chase is. He's a stud. He's an absolute beast. And you saw how impressive he looked this season. But I think Jalen Ramsey is going to be a big part in that secondary. He's going to have to be because you don't really have other flashy names in that Rams secondary. The part of the defense, to me, that's going to be huge is the defensive front. Because we all know that the Rams have a solid defensive front. That's their foundation. That's what they built their defense on, is that defensive front, led by Aaron Donald. Now you have Von Miller out there. You have Leonard Floyd. You have guys out there that could make plays, put pressure on the quarterback. That should be Cincinnati's big area of concern, is how that offensive line is going to hold up to, stop Aaron Donald from putting pressure on a guy like Joe Burrow. Because I think Aaron Donald's going to be the X factor in this game. He's going to be that guy. And if he can have a good day in getting to the quarterback, if he's able to get to the quarterback and put a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow, it's going to be a long game for the Cincinnati Bengals. And that could set the tone for the Rams offense as well. Because if the defense can get off the field quickly and the offense can get back on the field, the Rams could easily blow this game out, even though I have this been a close game. But that defense can dictate a lot of things for the Rams. And I think it starts up front with their defensive front.
Jonathan, you see the Niners helmet in the background. On our NFC preview, we had a lot of fun at the Rams' expense of the home crowd advantage and where the Niners going to pack the stands. Well, the Rams are only the second team in NFL history to actually be able to host a Super Bowl. Of course, back-to-back years, following Tampa Bay doing it literally last season. One asks the question, is there going to be a real tangible home field advantage for the Rams playing this game in SoFi?
I think so, even though other fans of opposing teams have taken over SoFi Stadium. We've seen that quite a bit now since the stadium has opened. But I do think the Rams have an advantage because, look, it's LA. You're going to have a lot of fans in attendance to watch this game. A lot of fans paid outrageous prices to be there, and they're going to be supporting the LA team because it is in Los Angeles. It's a big game. But then you have Cincinnati fans too. They travel well as well. And there's going to be a mixture of Cincinnati fans and Los Angeles fans. But I don't think that makes much of a difference. I think it's how you play. It's not where you play. But if you're into that and you think home field advantage is a huge factor, then, hey, home field advantage matters, But I don't think it matters to the Rams that much. They have been able to continue to put together wins no matter where they play. And they have played well at home in front of opposing fans from other teams. So I don't think it really matters that much, but it can be an advantage there for sure.
All right, Blake, I got to ask you the obligatory, are you worried about the Bengals offensive line question? Because Cincinnati Bengals still do have the worst right side of the offensive line of any team in the NFL that's not actively trying to lose. And even among the teams actively trying to lose, they're still pretty close. So the thing that it makes it difficult for me to swing with my boys in orange is that Aaron Donald and Von Miller have dominated very good blocking, but the Bengals have had not so great pass blocking, except for Quentin Spain being pretty good and Jonah Williams being a solid left tackle. So concerns, thoughts, fears, feelings about your offensive line?
Let me just start off by saying no one's stopping Aaron Donald. It's impossible. I've already came to terms with that. Listen, if Joe Burrow throws out of the pocket every single play, I'm totally fine with that because Aaron Donald is one of the all-time best defensive players ever. He is a force to be reckoned with, and I know during the Super Bowl he's going to bring it all out on the field. So listen, if you can take Aaron Donald out of the game and just roll out of the pocket, that's fantastic. I'm really, really paying attention to the edge rushers versus the tackles of the Bengals right now. I think Von Miller and Leonard Floyd are two fantastic edge rushers who make up a very, very dangerous score. I believe they have 16.5 sacks combined. I'm not sure if I got that completely correct, but last time I checked, I think it was around that area. These are two guys that are very, very good in the pass rush as well. I really like Leonard Floyd. He's been a very, very solid piece for the Rams for quite a while now. And getting the newly added Von Miller has been a big key force in the playoffs lately as well. These are two really good edge rushers for the Rams. But I do think Cincinnati does have something that we don't really take into consideration a lot when we look at the Bengals roster, and it's two very, very good chip blockers on this team. Drew Sample, the tight end, has been a very, very good pass blocking tight end as of late as well, and came in during whenever Uzomah was hurt, and was a very, very big key pass blocker at the end for Joe Burrow. And also Samaje Perine, the running back, is another guy that is able to stay in the backfield during third downs and is able to chip block if someone's able to beat their man off the side. Because let's be honest, I don't expect Isaiah Prince to win one-on-one against Von Miller consistently throughout this game. I think you're going to need a little bit of chip blocking to help. And Cincinnati has such a great advantage when it comes to having three great receivers on the field at all times. So they really don't have to worry about bringing out an extra fourth or fifth receiver. They can go with a with 6 or 7 guys potentially and bring out a couple of receivers to run some routes and create some separation because they're that good. So though I do think it's going to be a very, very rough scenario. Cincinnati's not going to be able to go empty set this entire game and throw the ball. It's just not going to happen unless they're throwing the ball immediately. They're going to have to find a way to be able to have some chip blocking, give Joe Burrow some time because I think they're going to need to have a couple of big plays down the field if they want to win this football game.
All righty, guys. Well, it is time to put our stamp of prediction on this game. Who is going to be walking away with the Lombardi Trophy on Super Bowl Sunday? Blake, you are first up, my friend. The Bengals are currently 3.5-point underdogs, but will they be hosting their first Lombardi Trophy?
Well, I just want to preface this by saying I predicted the Rams to win the Super Bowl preseason. So I don't want that to happen, but I did predict that. I predicted Rams-Bills, and I predicted the Rams to win in their home stadium. So, I'm gonna get this right either way, I guess. But the Bengals fan in me, after what I've saw the last couple of weeks, I gotta give it to the Bengals in this game. I just really, really think that this feels like their year. The year of the Tiger, just the year of Joe Burrow and what he's done entirely with this team. I think it's just poetic to have one more Evan McPherson game-winning field goal to win the game. So I'm gonna take the Bengals 27-24. But this is gonna be a very good game. The Rams are a very, very good football team, and this does not shock me one bit that they're in the Super Bowl right now.
Kyle Ledbetter, from the place of doubt you spoke of earlier in the season to rocking all orange on the Super Bowl preview. Cincinnati Bengals, Los Angeles Rams, who you got?
Yeah, this is my apology to the Bengals. Congratulations. Blake knows that I was branded a Bengals hater so unfairly, but I was branded a Bengals hater earlier this season because I was willing to go out on a limb and saying they were probably not a playoff team, and that has not turned out very well. This game is going to be really interesting. I feel like both teams are relatively evenly matched. I can point to the greatest strengths of the Rams being the weaknesses of the Bengals and the greatest weaknesses of the Bengals being the greatest strengths of the Rams on the flip side. So it's very difficult to analyze this game seriously because it's the Super Bowl. Weird stuff happens all the time. And that is why after all this time, me dressed in all orange for entertainment purposes, I will not continue doubling and tripling down like I did last year where I said the Chiefs would beat the Buccaneers by 1,000, or the year before that when I said the Green Bay Packers would beat the San Francisco 49ers in the conference championship, or these last 2 weekends where I have gone 1-5 in picking playoff games between the last 2 weeks. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals, my boys in orange. I said last week that this will either be one of the weirdest champions in the history of the NFL, or it's going to launch a 20-year dynasty like the Patriots. So let us commence the 20-year dynasty because I don't know shit about football. Let's do a scoregami and say final score 25-18. The Bengals will win. It will be the first 25-18 score in the history of the NFL.
All righty. Jonathan, the Rams bet big. Will you bet big on the Rams to win the Super Bowl trophy?
Look, statistically, both of these teams are fairly evenly matched. Both of these teams have high-powered offenses. That's what's gotten them to this point this year. But if I have to choose one team, and of course there's only one winner, and there's going to be one team hoisting the Lombardi trophy, for me, that's the LA Rams. I think the Rams are more complete. I think the Rams are the Goliaths of this Super Bowl. And then, of course, on the other side, you got the lovely, cutie underdogs, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, it's been a great run for them. They're going to make it close. I think it's going to be a close game. I think both of these teams are going to have to get a feel for each other in the first couple quarters. So I do expect it to be low scoring to start out. But as we get into the second half of the game and both teams kind of settle in and make adjustments, I think that's where you see a more competitive game, a game that has more drama, more anticipation, more great stuff happening in the second half. But I'm going to go with the Rams. I think they get it done on a Matt Gay field goal. I think the final score will be 24-21. That is my prediction. Again, I just think the Rams defense is going to be a little bit too much, particularly that defensive front. It's going to be a little bit too much for Joe Burrow. And I know he's great at extending plays and all of that, but I think this is when it comes to an end for Cincinnati, because I just trust that Rams defense to get the job done. And Aaron Donald, he's on a whole different level right now. I mean, this guy is serious about wanting to win a Super Bowl. That's how bad he's won it. That's how bad he wants it. He has shown us that last week. I mean, the week before last. So you can't bet against this Rams team. And this Rams team, they know what's at stake. They know what they've done to get here. So now all they got to do is finish the job. And I'm confident that they will do just that.
I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. And if I was Blake, I would be worried about the fact that a Bengals hater has officially turned over to my side of the field by picking them in the Super Bowl. I feel too for Blake here. A couple of years ago, I made the same mistake. I had my preseason pick of the Chiefs go against my Niners. And on one hand, yeah, was I right? Was it worth it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I would have absolutely preferred the Niners to win. So that is why in this breakdown here, in this final adage of the NFL season, it's my heart versus my brain. My analyst side wants to tell me the same thing that Kyle's saying, that Von Miller, that Aaron Donald are going to rip apart the Bengals offensive line, that Jalen Ramsey can shadow Jamar Chase, that Sean McVay is Zach Taylor's daddy and the only reason he has a job currently in the NFL. But I'm going with my heart. When the Bengals had that crazy game that came down to Mason Crosby shanking kicks, Evan McPherson shanking kicks, I said the Bengals were a team I could see in the playoffs, and they overachieved. They overachieved to a great extent, and why not? I'm going all in. I'm pushing my chips in the middle of the table, like that tweet that the Rams sent out after they acquired Von Miller, that I am picking the Cincinnati Bengals. I am picking them to win. I guess we're all very similar. We think this is going to come down to a field goal game, huh? Get a little bit of drama in the Super Bowl. I am going to pick them to win 31-28. 31-28 Bengals, a little bit more higher scoring there. All right, guys. Well, hey, that does it. That is a wrap for our Super Bowl preview. We got 3 for the Bengals, 1 for the Rams. Jonathan, I'm going to throw it to you for the obligatory plugs. Let the people know where they can find you.
Certainly. So you guys can find me on Instagram, SportsJudge85. You guys can also find me on Twitter, SportsJudge85. Good luck finding me on Twitter, though, because I'm not very active there. But you guys can always follow back and hit me up anytime. And then where you guys can always reach out to me is on Facebook, on my Sports Judge fan page. That's where I'm active the most. I post my commentary there. You guys can like it, follow it, and we can be buddies and we can talk sports all day. And you guys can also check out my commentary at SoCalChronicle.com. And don't forget to tune in to the ASAP Network every Wednesday and Friday. I co-host a show with several other people called Just Say the Truth.
Okay, Blake, let the people know, where can they find Stripe Hype, all things Stripe Hype?
Yes, sir. I'm on Instagram at StripePipeCincy. That's where I post all my Bengals content and everything that you need to know about the Cincinnati Bengals leading up to the game. Also, go find me on my other Instagram page now, Stripe Hype Scouting. I do a lot of NFL draft scouting and things like that for the offseason. It's another big passion of mine that I like a lot. You can go find me on fieldofcourt.com. It's field, the letter 2, or the number 2, courts.com. That's where I do writing for the Cincinnati Bengals as well. And go find me on my Twitter at BlakeQ714, where I cover both the Bengals and NFL draft scouting stuff. Just a little bit of sports all in general, I guess, as well. But thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well, it's a shame that we've come to this point, the last game of the season. It's always a joy. It's always sad to see it go, but football has come and went. And I guess we at least have one final send-off where we'll see one team either do something historic, win a championship, or another team, I guess, win their first championship in Los Angeles, which will also be historic as well. All right, guys. Well, at Slumpbuster Podcast on IG, at Slumpbuster Pod on Twitter. You can find myself, Juju Talk Sports, Kyle Ledbetter on our respective social medias. Stay safe, happy, and healthy, and make sure to follow these guys below and hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time.